Let's be honest, you're tired. You're tired of the headlines, the constant us versus them, and that low-grade fever of anxiety that spikes every time we look at our phone. You know, we feel like we're in the battle for the very soul of the world, don't we? We're waiting for that one leader, that one victory, that one moment that will finally set things right and silence the other side. We are standing on the road to Jerusalem. We're waving our branches and we are desperate for a winner. We want a political Messiah to march in and fix them. But here's the truth that might just sting a little bit. 2,000 years ago, the crowd wanted that same thing. And when they didn't get it, they didn't just walk away. They turned. Because the battle you think you're fighting out there is actually a distraction from the only war that matters, the one happening inside your own heart. And today we're talking about the myth of the political Messiah and the king who refuses to play our game. Hi, I'm Howard, pastor of the Roseville New Church, and welcome to Spiritual Shorts. Yeah, I seem a little aggravated. Because we are 2 weeks away from Palm Sunday, we have a rare gift. The time to look past the parade and see that tension behind the triumphal entry. The crowd in Jerusalem wasn't just religious. They were politically charged. They lived under Roman occupation and they were desperate for a winner. They were looking for a figure who would step into the intersection of religion and politics and finally make their side win. And if we're honest, 2,000 years hasn't changed us much, has it? Whether we lean left or we lean right, we're all closet monarchists. We hold a secret hope for a king or a candidate or a movement that will rule over everyone else and force the world into the shape we want. But here's the hard truth that the passion narrative forces us to face. At the intersection of religion and politics, politics usually drags religion down. Religion rarely lifts politics up. And why? Well, because politics is about the management of external power, while true religion is about the transformation of inner character. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus enters the city on a donkey, a quiet, almost jarring subversion of power. Isaiah puts it this way, "I have set my face like a stone, determined to do his will." This isn't a display of worldly might, but a deeper kind of sovereignty. Not over an empire, but over the toughest territory of all, the human heart. A donkey, that's not the animal of conquest. It's the opposite of spectacle. It's steady, ordinary. And it makes me think of those stubborn parts of us that don't want to be led. By choosing this humble animal, Jesus shows his unique power, not to dominate by force, but to gently harness and renew our will. He sets his face like a stone, not against the Roman legion, but against the true enemy, the darkness of the human ego. In the Swedenborgian tradition, we see Jerusalem as more than a map coordinate. It represents the church within the individual, the internal landscape of our beliefs and our loves. When the Lord rides into Jerusalem, he isn't heading for the governor's palace. He isn't looking to change the tax laws. He's heading for the temple, your temple. The king we want is a king who fixes our neighbors and our rivals. But the king we need is a reformer who enters our inner temple to overturn the tables of our own pride, our own resentment, and our own desire for rightness over righteousness. As the lesson in Philippians says, he emptied himself. He didn't cling to status or divine privilege. He shows us that the only way to truly rule is to serve. And this is why the passion is so uncomfortable. When the political Messiah the crowd wanted failed to produce a worldly revolution, the crowd turned on him. When he stood before Pilate and the high priests, he remained largely silent. Because divine truth doesn't need to scream to be true. It doesn't need to insult its opponent. It doesn't need a majority vote to be valid. And it certainly doesn't seek validation through likes and comments on social media. The Lord's victory over death, it wasn't a legal payment to an angry God. It was the ultimate display of divine love, refusing to become the evil it was fighting. Even as they divided his garments and mocked his face, the Lord remained anchored in love. He didn't come to change the governance of the state. He came to change the governance of your soul. As we prepare for the coming holy days, I invite you to step back from the rancor of the day and look at the space you have created for an inner monarch. Are you waiting for a rescuer to fix the world around you? Or are you ready for a reformer to build the world in here? Palm Sunday's victory isn't in the volume of the crowd. It's in the quiet courage to open the gates of the inner city and let the true King reorder the heart. God bless you, and thank you for joining me for this episode of Spiritual Shorts.